Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Chairman Nadler. Thank you, Congresswoman Terry Sewell, Speaker Pelosi, Whip Clyburn, and so many members for their leadership in keeping our eyes on the prize. Now, the Supreme Court gutted critical protections of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Today, we are restoring that constitutional right that so many states are taking away from Black and brown people, rural people, people of color, everyone. Sooner or later, it'll be all of us who will be subject to these Voter Restrictions Act. So make no mistake, these are efforts to turn the clock back to the days of Jim Crow. That's not something I'm imagining. Let me tell you, I vividly remember as one who was born and raised in El Paso, Texas. So I too salute our Texas legislators for their boldness in protecting the right to vote. H.R. 4 can restore these crucial protections that our beloved John Lewis and so many others fought for. John said, "The right to vote is precious, almost sacred. In honor of his legacy as a paragon of democracy, let us vote to pass the John R. Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act." Thank you again, and thank you, Congresswoman Terry Sewell, G.K. Butterfield, our Speaker, everyone who has brought this bill to the floor.
The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Louisiana is recognized.
Madam Speaker, I'll reserve.
The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from New York is recognized.
Madam Speaker, I now yield 45 seconds to the distinguished gentlelady from Michigan, Representative Lawrence.
The gentlelady is recognized.
Madam Speaker, like in many states, Republicans in Michigan's legislature has introduced legislation to suppress the right to vote. Make no mistake about it, the fundamental right to vote in this country is under assault. That's why my dear friend John Lewis once said, it is the most powerful nonviolent tool, voting is the most powerful nonviolent tool we have in our democracy. Today we fight back. Today we have an opportunity to restore the power of the vote. I urge my colleagues to support the John Lewis Voting Rights Amendment, and I yield back.
The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Louisiana is recognized.
Madam Speaker, I reserve.
The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from New York is recognized.
Madam Speaker, I yield 45 seconds to the distinguished gentlelady from Illinois, Ms. Schakowsky.
The gentlelady is recognized.
One of the greatest honors and privileges of my life has been to serve with John Lewis, who I had the privilege of calling a precious friend. In August, 58 years ago, John Lewis, the young John Lewis, led a march to Washington with Martin Luther King. And on August 16th of 1965, the momentous Voting Rights Act was signed into law thanks to John Lewis. And today, on August 25th, 2021, we are here to vote for the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, a bill that he almost gave his life to pass all those years ago, will now be restored to power of the vote, right, and the right to vote in the new legislation named for our dear friend and the conscience of this Congress. And I yield back. Let's vote yes.